a further review, if you will, of what we're hoping for or looking at. And so we talked about that student-facing resource, and I think you'll get a little bit of an idea of a checklist when we dig a little deeper into that Google spreadsheet that they were sharing with you, where they were showing you the colors and how you're going to get that information to the folks that are putting it in Edify. But here I want to talk now about the teacher-facing piece, okay? So I can't ever show this material without giving credit to the women on the end and the work that they put into it. Did Lorinda have to go already? Okay. So, but Lorinda, who was there, and Bethany and Megan and Katrina and Pam, of course, as well, all the work that you're about to see and this whole process, they were a part of kind of putting this together. So this is the part you're going to see my energy change a little bit, because this is what I feel very confident in. Whereas the other, I like what I'm seeing and it's moving in a very good direction. I'm just not as comfortable with it, so my energy's changing a little. But basically what we're going to do is take, how many are familiar with those Title I ELA literacy supports? If you've been there before, the bit.ly/MAISA 13, okay? Okay. So we're going to go and look at those. But before we go there, I just wanted to show you the thinking that went into creating them. The first piece is that we don't want to show anybody anything without letting them know the research or the thinking that goes behind it. So there's a certain research component that we're going to ask to be a part of that. So what are the authors? What are the studies? Whose shoulders are we standing on as we carry forward in the work that we're doing? The second consideration is the MESA unit. So that's a resource you obviously have, is one to go to look for mini lessons or assessment items. You can go there and look at those for ideas. What might be a MESA unit connection? Obviously the Common Core connection, we're already doing that for you, really. So that's essentially done. We are asking for that, though, that you do create a video. We're asking for two pieces in that. One of them is to go back to the MESA unit, right? The reason that makes that MESA unit so significant is it's in that writer's workshop, or it's in the workshop component. And so by connecting it back to that, we're going to, what we did here was we created a mini lesson template that took the components of the workshop lesson, the mini lesson, and connected it to those buckets you have to fill in Edify. And so this lesson plan does that. And so I think, and maybe you can speak the best to it at the back there, but I think doing the Google Doc lesson plan first set the stage then for what that video looked like. So you do the research component, you do the standard alignment, the MESA connection, and then you essentially verbalize what you already planned out in this lesson plan template. And so you go through that and structure it. As you're going through that lesson plan in the video, we want you to very intentionally bring in the components of the gradual release so that I do it. Where is it that you're giving that information? What are the activities where the kids then are maybe sharing that information back to you or sharing amongst each other? And then the formative assessment that Teresa talked a little bit about as well. But going through all the steps of that gradual release, and you'll see a model that we're going to use. That teacher introduction, and you saw the bucket for that. There's also a teacher introduction here, but that will need to be there. The possibility of a mentor example in action. So when I take you to the website, I think, Bethany, what was yours? Diary of a Worm? Or what was the worm? The worm one. Diary of a Worm, yep. So I spent a little time being the... Yeah. So I spent a little time working with those videos. So, but it happened to incorporate the Diary of a Worm. And on the comprehension sections, right? Because we're striving for the skills behind reading, it'd be awesome if you could consider a literature piece, so just a story, but then maybe also an informational textbook to consider to practice those same skills. Since we're really handling it from the reading perspective, not necessarily reading of a story or reading of informational text. Just a consideration there. Formative assessment I already mentioned. So then any of the resources that you reference or create. So I'm in the middle of my mini lesson. We're doing this reading things. I want the kids to read these cards. I'm going to pass these cards out to the kids. You might suggest that. Well, chances are you have it in a Google Doc or a PowerPoint or something. Include that resource so that the person using it goes, oh, PowerPoint. Oh, man, where are those words? Bam, right there. Good to go. But then above and beyond that, we are asking for additional resources for reference or further professional learning. So Teresa mentioned Reading Rockets. So Reading Rockets has some good sections. There's the Flora Center of FCRR of Reading Research. Teresa's got the Tennessee won monies from Race to the Top. And they actually have some really good units that she referenced in there that break down every single standard, especially K3, right? I think that's specifically K3. So it might be research-based to build background knowledge for students. It might be an interactive website that teachers could take students to or teachers could put students on. So you might find that that interactive website would be the same that you might use for the student-facing side at that point then, right? So there might be some overlap in that. And then, so based on A through K, to see it in action, I'm specifically referencing you to the oral language lesson, but I think I also linked it there. And it's linked, so these two links, I think, this one might take you to the generic site so you can look at all of them. This one, I think, specifically goes to this one. But basically what we're getting at are, you've got kids that are struggling on this skill, and if it was maybe their ability to identify the irregular words, and you wanted to grab a title person from your building or a parapro, and you wanted them to either watch this video or follow this lesson plan and possibly do something one-on-one, possibly with a small group, or even any educator, maybe a whole mini lesson, right? How would you structure that so that that practice could be out there for others to see? And that's where we went back to this idea of a common language and a common understanding. And so there's a lot of folks out there that are doing some of these different MACE units already. So I'm going to go considering these A through K. So it might be helpful if you had A through K, if you have this slide up on your computer. I'll link to the video and then just see where you can find these elements within the video that I'm going to show you. All right? All right, let me get that up and we'll go.